Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
Thanks, Allan. This is David Brower, and our special guest today from Phoenix, Arizona is Stacy Brookman. And Stacy is a resilience and life storytelling expert and produces the Real Life Resilience podcast. Her mission is to tell stories of recovery from life's most difficult traumas and provide tools for resiliency for kids and adults. And Tracy, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Well, I am so excited to be here, David.
So tell me, resilience, that takes me in a lot of different directions. Is it emotional? Is it physical? Explain to me how the Real Life Resilience podcast, what do you talk about on your podcast?
Sure. Well, we provide tools for all kinds of things, and I got into it by starting with my own life storytelling. And I was going through a very traumatic time in my life. I was divorcing someone who was a sociopath, and that's, a true sociopath, not I don't bat that word around lightly.
Right.
And it was just devastating emotionally, financially, physically, spiritually. It was just devastating all the way around. And then the chaos of divorce, and on top of that, all the crazy, crazy stuff that was going on. Well, in the middle of that, I started taking a life story and memoir writing course. And that thing saved my life, honestly. It really did.
Is that like journaling on steroids, or what is that?
It sort of is. You can journal to heal, but this was taking snippets of our lives. And what I was doing, what they had the class do is take parts of your life, and they taught a formula how to write it into a scene. And so I did that, and we brought them every Friday, and we read them aloud to the class. And, of course, mine were so crazy. It was just amazing. And, sometimes in my life you just had to laugh or else you would cry. It was so crazy.
Sure, yeah.
So what I understood then just naturally was how beneficial having someone hear my story, what was happening to me, having someone hold that story without judgment, and actually writing down helped me become clear on what was happening, what I needed to do next, my emotions, because when you find words for what's happening to you, like your head is in chaos. And we as human beings have a huge capacity for pulling the wool over our own eyes.
Yeah.
And I have certainly done that. So when you start writing, everything becomes clearer. You have to find the words to what's happening to you. You have to find the words for your emotions. And it puts it down in black and white, so it's not as confusing for you at all. And so I did discover that naturally. And I was calmer. I was able to get through that chaos with more peace than I would ever have imagined. And, find myself, find my true authenticity, and be able to discover really who I was behind the whole divorce thing.
What a gift.
And so, yeah, after that, I realized I started doing some research into not only the art, but the psychology of life story writing. And when I did that, I realized there are so many research studies that behind this, that there really are benefits of writing your life stories out in certain ways. And it can boost your immune system even. It reduces stress. It helps you get past, people will say, if you've had like a divorce or something else that was traumatic in your life or your past, or abuse or anything like that, just get over it, or, it'll fade with time. Those type of traumatic memories do not fade over time. When you have trauma, that those memories are formed in a different part of your brain than regular memories.
And you may become expert at stuffing them, but they never go away.
Exactly. And it could be triggered by a sound, a song, a smell, something like that. And, we've all been angry at something for no reason, probably, just something just trips your trigger. Well, that could come out at any time.
Yeah.
So what writing does is it puts those memories, those sharp memories, that maybe they're hidden from you sometimes. You don't even realize you have them.
Right.
And when you write about it, you start remembering those details, and you start forgiving yourself, first of all, for what's happened, and put those in a regular part of your brain where they can no longer hurt you.
When you become that vulnerable, and it's and I'm kind of guessing here a bit, but when you become that vulnerable and you think or feel that, okay, obstacle A is this, but really it turns out to be obstacle C, that's really the issue. And how do you navigate yourself through the writing to find yourself being authentic? Is that a system that you work with people with to allow them to be so vulnerable?
Yeah, and it takes a little while to start being truthful because, my fear and a lot of people's fear is like, what if I'm really not a good person?
Yeah.
Or what if, people read this about me and they think negatively, and you've got to just dispel that. Your first initial writing, or this is the rough draft or the free write is what I call it, is only for you. You will never share that with anybody else. Only after you refine it can you. You don't even need to. You don't ever, to get the benefits of writing about your life, you never even have to share it at all.
Good.
I recommend you share it because let's say you've been through a bout of cancer and or some other type of trauma in your life. Wouldn't you like to be able to share your story and your wisdom, your newfound wisdom, with someone who is just about to go through the same thing you did? And so I do recommend you sharing your story with other people, but you definitely don't have to.
When you find your authentic self, which has to be a journey in and of itself, to say the least, and you find your authentic self and you're able to share whatever those experiences are, whether it's cancer, mental health, whatever it is, and there's support groups all around the world that need really authentic life experience people to help people get to go where they need to be. And so you're kind of putting people in just a wonderful, wonderful place to pay it forward,
Absolutely, absolutely. And here's another thing. When I was going through this, and when I first started writing, one of the exercises we did was to find our life theme. And I was a professional businesswoman. I was handling this divorce. I was handling life. I had 2 kids, and I was juggling it all, trying to make sure everything was going okay. From the outside, I looked okay, right?
Right.
On the inside, I was a mess. I mean, I would have to go, just some of the crazy stories, I would have to go to a grocery store in the morning to wash my face and wash my hair because my ex had turned off the water.
Oh, wow.
Or he cut the wires on the heater and then called Child Protective Services. So that what I projected
right.
to the world
right.
was something totally put together and totally different than what was happening on the inside. So when I did this, I discovered that my life theme to date was not raising my hand.
Oh, wow.
Not in kindergarten, grade school, high school, young adult. I didn't say, that's not right, or I don't want to do that, or, I never raised my hand. I was taught, apparently, from a young age and through society and different things, that I need to be invisible. My opinion doesn't matter. Those type of, internal things that I had adopted inside my head.
Sure.
So that affected my adult life. And when I realized that, I looked back and I'm like, oh my goodness, that matches everything that's happened to me.
When you grow up in a learned environment, I mean, it's all you know. That's your comfort level. That's your comfort zone. So
right.
You don't know what you don't know about other areas, right? So,
exactly.
Like I was an amazing introvert. Amazing is probably not the right way, but I was certainly an introvert pretty much all my life growing up, and only child, and hung out by myself, had very few friends, all that kind of thing.
Right.
And then I got into a radio career, and so I was forced to become an extrovert when the microphone was on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would go back to my introvert, and then I'd flip the switch, and here comes the extrovert,
Right.
And so learning different things like that about yourself is so eye-opening. Oh, my gosh.
Well, it's really cool because then you can change your life theme.
Yeah.
So once you discover what it really is, if you like it, great. Do more of it. Be more authentic with yourself. Share it with other people. But if you don't, like I didn't, you can change it. And so I was able to live more authentically, live more joyfully, and become more resilient because I discovered it and I was able to change myself.
That is so cool.
It's just been amazing since then, in the relationships. And, I was always timid in any interaction and things like that. And
Sure.
now, why? Because I am who I am. I like who I am, and I can project that when I'm interacting with other people. I feel more comfortable in my skin.
Yeah, when you are authentic and you feel more comfortable in your skin and you carry yourself with that kind of, not arrogance, but true confidence and authenticity, then even strangers walking by you pick up on that and go, wow, what's going on with her, right?
True.
That's cool.
And people are attracted to it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Anybody can do it. This is, writing about your life is not about, 8th grade grammar or anything like that. I mean, it's messy, and that is okay.
So when you get somebody gets a hold of you and they feel scared, motivated, terrified, inquisitive, all those different things, and want to tell their story, want to become authentic, want to feel healed, how does that work? How do you ease them into that process?
Yeah, that is a great question because a lot of times people feel overwhelmed. It's just too huge of a task. I've got to write a book. That is not true whatsoever. So I first take people, I have a webinar, it's a free webinar that takes people through writing the very first chapter of their life story in just 7 days. And then I give them the tools to write thereafter. And part of that is finding the milestones in your life. Just write down the milestones. I was born, I graduated, my parents divorced, I was baptized, whatever milestones in your life that you have. And then I take them through a couple of other lists and matching up those lists. What is the one crux point that is kind of throughout all of those lists? So
a common theme, in other words, right?
A common theme.
Okay.
And then take it to one moment in time that represents that milestone. Was there one moment in time in your grandmother's kitchen? And then let's describe that. Describe what the smells were, what you saw, what you touched. Was it, Formica table, or was it your grandmother's apron? And was she cooking fried chicken? All of those things.
No, she was cooking. She was baking homemade yeast rolls, hot out of the oven with butter on the Formica kitchen table in the basement of my aunt's house.
Oh, wow!
And it was just her and I. I remember that like it was yesterday, and it was 60 years ago. Mm-hmm. Nice. Right. How fascinating. One of the things I stumbled across, and I don't remember why, I used to write poetry a lot. I don't so much anymore. But when I would have a creative block, a writer's block, if you will, I write everything on the computer. But when I'd have that block, I'd get out a tablet and a pen, and I would write with my left hand, which I don't know how to do.
Right.
But it would break, for whatever reason, it would open up the floodgates, and all of a sudden I could go back to the computer and start writing again.
Right. Just open up that subconscious.
Yeah.
Too. I think that's what happens.
Yeah,
with that
it's fascinating. So you put on I was looking at your website, you have a free webinar that you do periodically to help people get into this place of writing and free writing and helping to discover themselves. How often do you do those?
I do it once a month.
Okay.
I do it every single month. So whenever you go to, it's stacybrookman.com/webinar. And there, I'm getting ready to put up the next one. And there's always a webinar going up right there. And so anytime you can join and discover more about it. I love to visit with people over social media too, and my website. So if anybody wants to write a note or email me, they can email me and ask me questions. Maybe I'll answer that on Facebook or something like that. I love sharing. In fact, when I got done with that class I was in Rochester, New York, took that class, and I started discovering more about it. I said, so many people need to know about this.
Yeah.
And I went out and learned more, and I started teaching at the local community college.
Nice.
And from there, I'm like, I was getting 15, 20 people in my classes, but I want so many more people to know that they can write through their troubles, write about their past troubles, and heal from that, not cram it down in their head, but just heal from it completely and live a more joyful life. And so that's why I started my website a couple of years ago. I'm like, I want to really help people understand how to be more resilient through writing their life
story. Good for you. If you go to stacybrookman.com, one of the things you'll see, because as we talked earlier, everything can and probably is overwhelming when you think about this process. But on your website, it says, write the first chapter of your life story in just 7 days. And all of a sudden you go, oh, well, that doesn't seem so overwhelming. I don't have to be Ernest Hemingway and write a novel, right? And then you click on the free webinar and tab, and then you've got a countdown to when your next webinar is. So very organized, very informative, very easy to roll through. And folks, we're about out of time, but I want to encourage you to go to stacybrookman.com. That's STACY Brookman, BROOKMAN.com. And you learn more about Stacy, about how you can write your own story in 7 days, the 4-step process that helps you get out of your comfort zone. It's just fascinating what you're doing. Hats off to you.
Yeah, I want more people to know about it, because it's not going to a counselor, which I really recommend.
Yeah.
But it's something that you can do for free and on your own. So it's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. And your podcast, how often do you air your podcast?
Yeah, it's weekly, and it's called Real Life Resilience. It's on Stitcher and iTunes, and or you can listen to it directly off of the website. You can click on the podcast on the website and listen to the latest episode.
Awesome. StacyBrookman.com. You'll find it all right there. And Stacy, congratulations on your authentic self and helping other people find theirs. What an enormous payoff for you and them, and one of the ultimate pay it forward projects I've heard of in a long time. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, David. I'm really excited about what you do too, and bringing all these fascinating stories out to the world, and that is really cool.
Well, thank you so much. Pleasure to have you here, and I wish you continued success.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Your 20-minute podcast with David Brower has been brought to you by Audible. You can listen to any of David's podcasts anywhere podcasts can be found, including iHeartRadio, the Spotify mobile app, and at davidbrowervo.com/your20-minute podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.